Give it to me, Dennis. Dennis, give it to me.
All right, everybody, we are back on Plate Forward. Today we got Spencer Sherry. He is a filmmaker, writer, director. The short film is The Monkey. Spencer, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. This is fun. Um, Hi everyone. I'm Spencer Sherry. I'm a filmmaker from upstate New York. Filmmaking was a kind of later stage move for me. I went to school for a couple different things: music, criminal justice, communications, and ended up falling into filmmaking. Couple years ago, someone offered me a job on a movie set in New York City, and so I ran down and did it. And then I came back upstate after about a year to try to do my own stuff in a nice community and more affordable environment. So been making a couple films for the last couple of years.
It's awesome. Spencer, smart man.
Yeah.
Getting out of New York City and doing it in a more affordable, sustainable environment. I read the article that was on some of the background information on you, and it was, you dropped out of your last year of college basically and went and did this production in New York City, and then I imagine you probably finished your degree at some point. You haven't
No,
done that yet, no. No
no,
rush. All right.
never stuck. Yeah.
Well, hey, it just I bring that up as just that, you jumped on a great opportunity and it was a really great opportunity and it inspired you to do your own stuff. And the monkey you put out there is a I mean, was that your first short film?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's
First real endeavor with a budget and a crew, and didn't end up so short at the end of the day. But
no, I mean, it's just about shy of a feature. I mean, it's like what, 48, 50 minutes?
60. So technically,
60.
I think technically it is a feature. Yeah.
Technically, it's a feature. So there you go. It is technically a huge undertaking. I mean, you've got all sorts of stuff going on. Some really incredible locations. The crematory is, pretty interesting. Never saw that before. And you really knocked it out of the park for such a early, production. It's tremendous. And,
Thank you very much.
yeah. And to talk about the meat and the heart of the movie, it's based on a Stephen King story. Um, you know, can you set up the storyline a little bit for us?
Sure. Yeah. So I do kind of a little bit different way of adapting something. So the short story that Stephen King wrote came out in I think 1980. And it was set in the current time period. So it was set in the 80s. And so it's about a father whose two sons find this old creepy monkey toy in their attic, and he freaks out because when he was a kid, he found it in his attic, and every time it turned on and clapped its cymbals, somebody around him would die. And so that it was a story in the 80s, flashback to the 50s a bunch, and kind of jump between the two time periods. And so I kind of updated it by almost just shifting that narrative device. So the present in my movie is now, and one of those sons is now older, and it follows the same characters. But then we flash back to the original story in the 80s. So this now my story is about one of those sons. Now he's grown up. He's expecting his first child. The original protagonist, his father, is in the hospital. His health's not doing very well, and so he begins to suspect that the monkey is coming back. And so he's it's a story about parenting. It's a story about kind of the inevitable, which for me is what the monkey kind of represents, the fear of the inevitable, and a little bit of kind of generational trauma and baggage and how you carry um, the sins of your parents, so to speak, with you as you get older and start prepping for your own family.
There you go. Well, that's the theme that, thank you for setting that up. That's a theme that I definitely saw as well. The sins of the fathers are inherited by the sons. Um, And there's some other themes as well in there. You said the inevitable. It's interesting, So there's a genre of horror, right? And the genre of horror is, from an intellectual perspective, the story is like, well, there's this monkey, and it's like this little weird monkey, and it claps and people die. I mean, it's, that's kind of the beginning and end of it. However, as a horror genre, um, it's doing something else, right?
Right.
It is working on a deeper level. And the deeper level is not so much, well, why does this monkey have an evil spirit in it? And is an evil spirit doing something? But
Yeah.
what is the monkey representing? And the monkey to me represented two primary things. One, having it multi-generational. Of course, there's the idea of what our forebears have not overcome, are then inherited and visited for us to overcome. Um, and then there's also, you can't get away from the inherent kind of meaning in the movie of the underlying trauma of childhood, and how
Sure.
that trauma of childhood, whether it is represented by this childish object, and this childish object is still a traumatic experience to the adult. And, in the genre of horror, it has all these supernatural overtones around it that are, creating chaos and destruction. So, where is it in your life experience? How did you came to say, hey, I'm going to make this first epic film that I'm going to do. It's going to be about the monkey, and I just, it's something in me is calling me to take this subject matter on.
Sure. Yeah. And that was when I was reading a lot of Stephen King. I've always admired him and his work. And so I was reading these short stories and wanted to take a stab at one. And the monkey was the most interesting to me, A, because it's the original story is a really perfect blend of the campiness of this is a killer toy, um, as well as the serious drama. And so the original story, it was so Hal is the character, the father character in the original story. He's wrestling with favoritism with his kids. His older one, Dennis, is he's becoming a teen. He's a little pissant. He's starting to smoke pot and sneak around and talk back. And then his younger son, Pete, who is the main character in my film, um, is still young and innocent and pure, and they have a very good relationship. And so Hal, that's his internal struggle throughout the film, is wrestling with how am I treating both of my kids, and I like one more than the other, and what does that mean? So I wanted to keep some of that um, in my adaptation and see where that would have progressed to when they're adults now. But I also wanted that grounding. I didn't want that to just be it. That felt like the the dramatic remnants of the original story, but I wanted to bring something equally weighty and related and relevant to it, and that is Pete now as an adult. His first child is on the way, and his wife's very pregnant, and so that kind of fear, that's what I wanted him to wrestle with, is like, I don't know if I'm ready to be a father yet, and it is directly impacted by the way that he saw his dad treat them growing up as boys. I wish I could say that I brought some sort of personal experience to this. I do have three younger siblings, triplet siblings, and that
Oh
are two.
my. So it was
Yeah,
you and three triplets?
me and them three. Yeah, and then
Oh
my
my
parents
God.
definitively stopped after that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so they were, and they were 2 years younger than me. So growing up with them, there was definitely
Were they,
we're all different, but they were kind of a package deal. And there was, they definitely stole the spotlight after a while, being the triplets in our very small town growing up.
well, can't compete with that.
Correct. Yeah, well, probably why I'm so hammy and animated and want to take big swings and
Yeah.
artistic stuff. But they're also on the arts too. So growing up,
Hmm.
it was there wasn't really that sense of competition exactly, but I really liked exploring those particular themes, and wanted to this story bring another weightiness to it, because that's what's so interesting to me, and why I love horror. And this story in particular is being able to people I don't even tell people it's a horror movie. I tell people it's more of a drama with this some creepy elements to it
Mm, mm,
because that's more interesting. I want to be able to
mm,
do a little bit of everything. There's comedy in the
mm,
movie, but mostly it's a drama that you
mm,
add this supernatural element to, and it just
mm,
makes all the characters' motivations more interesting, and you can play with things a little, have more fun.
mm. Well, it's interesting, so I'm hearing how it does play into this kind of life experience that you have with, favoritism and just attention seeking. So from a child's point of view, we want the attention. And, I have
Sure.
a little girl, she's 5, and she wants all the attention all the time. And so and it's just that kind of a natural built-in things for most seeming kids. And it's very, natural. And for parents, it's certainly, at sometimes she's my favorite and sometimes she's not my favorite.
Sure.
So I think, if you just introduce another kid into the equation, well, that just, it's going to be just natural. Like somebody's a little more co-sympathetic at the moment and somebody isn't.
They're
And
going through different stages as they get older, and
yeah,
I was
yeah,
I was definitely a bratty teenager that didn't love authority, and I think that I was
likewise.
definitely
Yeah,
a handful for my parents as opposed to the triplets. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, it's totally, but on the onus of a parent, a parent's responsibility as the adult is to um create a meritocracy, an equal, balanced environment, where
Yeah.
there is no preferential treatment. Everybody's equal in the family, and everybody's needs are important. So it seems like that the parent in this story had a misstep. He made a mistake. Somehow, Denny, the older boy, found out that he was not preferred. And that's something that haunts, right, this character and Denny and the dad. And that's kind of like a death in a way, because
Oh
that's really
yeah.
like a cutting off, right? Like
Oh yeah.
he won't even go to his funeral. They've been cut from one another. So, you know, this theme and exploring the theme of, okay, there's like this sense of the generational healing and trauma healing that's needed, that hasn't happened in this story, um, because of the constant fear.
Right.
And so, in that context, all of a sudden the monkey takes on new meaning. It's a representation of a constant fear instead of maybe what the alternative could be.
Right.
And so now we're kind of naturally segueing into the second major question of play it forward is what is the message? What is the meaning of the narrative? And I offer that to our audience and to you. It's no, this is not didactic. What should people think? It's just what do you're the artist, man. You went in there, you wrestled with stuff. Now you're done. You can't breathe. Now you're seeing it from a whole nother light, as the viewer. You went. There's no doubt that the themes that you explored and shot you faced in life. No
Sure.
doubt, right?
Yeah.
You cannot, every filmmaker. Um, what's the takeaway, man? What'd
Sure.
you
Yeah. I
learn?
mean, that's what we kind of touched on the monkey earlier and what it means and what it represents. And the fact that it doesn't really matter when it comes to the horror genre, what is actually happening, whether it's a cursed or haunted, or even whether or not the monkey is just the harbinger of the bad things or it causes them.
Right,
Even
right.
that's
It's
unclear.
just the
It was
messenger.
and it was yeah, it was unclear in the original story too, and I wanted to preserve that. I wanted to make it the a horror story that really it doesn't matter why the horrific thing is happening. It's just the characters' responses to it. And so yeah, so to that effect, I teased it earlier, but the inevitable and the fear of the inevitable. And so that can be death, that can be Pete worried about his father's health not being good and dying. It could be the father realizing that, I'm going, I don't know if I'm gonna make it too much longer, and I have this awful relationship with my son that I never reconciled. And repeat as well, I'm about to be a father. I'm about to have a kid, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if I've gotten the catharsis that I need. I don't know if I have the tools. I don't want to make the same mistakes that my dad did, that I've been on, the receiving end of. Um, so yeah, so putting as far as theme goes, that's relatable. It's like, I think we all at one point or another, whether or not it's any of those particular things or anything or anything related where you can't stop the things from happening, you can't stop the inevitable things from coming, whether that's anxiety, you want to call it that, or fear, um overcoming that and being ready and making yourself ready and accepting whatever's coming and not trying so hard to fight against it and change it, just makes you a better person and makes you grow. um yeah, so that's kind of the monkey,
Yeah.
yeah, the monkey device there.
So, following up on that, this idea of the inevitable, I mean, it's kind of like on it takes so many layers. I mean, there's the inevitability of death, and the question is, and then there's the inevitability of birth. And the question
Mhm.
is, well, what are those things?
Right.
Right? There's the inevitability of maturity, maybe. What do those things mean, and how do we bring our awareness to whatever is inevitable? I mean, it's kind of like it can be, and what I'm trying to get at is inevitable in itself is not good or bad,
Right.
right?
Correct.
It's, I'm sick. It's inevitable I'll get well
Right.
unless I die.
Yeah. Right.
So, my foot's broken. Inevitably it'll heal. Things inevitably improve or they don't. So there's sort of like these moments where, well, all the emotional spectrum is inevitable. If we will probably feel sadness, loss, grief, happiness, joy, exhilaration,
Yeah,
elation.
exactly.
So what is it about the inevitable um that is scary when it's scary?
Sure. It's a
And
lack of agency, right? It's a lack of, you live life in such a way, I think, that you're told, it's you have all the control. The decisions that you make, that's all that's real. It's how you react, not what happens to you, that entire thing. And so, I think that for those real big things like death and birth and life and change, um that it's scary to not be able to just have to let it happen. um, and yeah, and learn how to react to things as well as you can, and to accept and be able to look at something and go, this is coming whether I like it or not, and how do I want this to affect me, and how do I want to respond and rise to this challenge if it is a challenge, or how do I want to grieve if it's something that's being killed or dying. And um, yeah, when it's bad, when it's bad, it can be tough. It can be
yeah.
difficult to process and go through.
Well, I love that what you said about the agency, the lack of agency and feeling, like you don't have any um control in
Yeah,
what's going on. And I think that's, really scary for macro to micro to, world global warfare and strife and to interpersonal turmoil.
yeah, and it's
So,
okay, and it's
yeah,
okay to feel that way. It's okay to, and that's just something that Pete goes through several times. It's just he'll be fine, and then he'll get a little reminder, or his wife Melissa will say, "Oh, the baby's kicking, feel it," and then it's like, "Oh," and now I'm back into that pattern of,
yeah,
I'm not so sure. I get this anxiety. This is
yeah,
creeping up on me. And yeah, and it's and letting people know. So that's natural. That's
yeah,
normal. Those
yeah.
are valid feelings. But it doesn't change anything. It's not going to stop. Feeling that way isn't going to stop the thing that's coming. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. It's huge. Feeling that way is not going to stop the thing that's coming, and it's natural to feel that way. And if we can say, if we can believe in a world where the monkey is an instructional element, whether it's in the monkey, the story, in the actual context of the film or outside the context of the film, I'm not sure if the character learns what element is instruction, but maybe we can from the
Right.
character. So how do we befriend the monkey and just take it in? Hey, it's cool, monkey. Let's make love. Let's change this dynamic.
Yeah, and it's funny too because somebody made the analogy of the proverbial monkey on your back,
Of
which is
course.
something that
Yeah.
people say when you've got that thing looming over
Right.
you. So that was
Sure.
a I went through the whole production of that thinking of that phrase once, and then somebody
Mhm.
said it to me a year after the film had come out. Um, but yeah, and and I'm not sure I even know the answer. It's moving through, it's accepting. I think acceptance is a lot of it too. Acceptance and being able to, as Pete does, identify the thing that is causing you that anxiety about that situation, about that um, inevitable moment,
Yeah.
and to be able to introspect and say, why am I having this reaction? What about this has got me rattled? And what about that am I not looking forward to, either consciously or subconsciously?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and being able to recognize where that comes from. It's like the admitting you have a problem is the first step type
Yeah.
thing, where you got to know, you got to understand yourself and understand where it's coming from before you can try to change that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the monkey could be a good harbinger and a warning that you got some shit you need to figure out
That's
before
it.
before you can move on with, whatever's happening.
That's it. And that's very potent, and that's something that we can all take away. And in a lot of traditional, contexts of spirituality, religion, whatever it might be, that monkey, the way it's handled is that first there's awareness around it, like you're saying, and then there is surrender and love.
Yep.
And with those kind of stages, those stories embrace that monkey, and then the monkey is now becomes something different. It's no longer a terrifying symbol. It becomes something different. It becomes something that is pacified and
Sure.
helpful and benevolent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely surrender at the end of my movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if it reads positive surrender, but he definitely there's definitely that shot in that moment of just
Yeah. Yes,
totally
there
about
is.
total
Yes, there
surrender.
is.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. And that's wonderful, because it's a wonderful sort of these great mythology contexts, which is in this story, or thousands of stories that have been told for thousands of years. In those contexts, the human action takes place in a natural sequence, right? It's only natural that at this stage in the game, the character is surrendering. And
Right.
even though that surrendering is starts with defeatedness, that surrender later can evolve into something else. But does start with defeat,
Yeah.
and that's true to life.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. In the sequel, he'll be haggard and calloused and totally accepting of everything that happens to him.
Yeah, it'll be happy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Find true
After
peace.
that,
He'll find true peace after that. Yeah.
after that, it'll be enlightened. Um, so let me ask you this. The last question of Play It Forward is, how have you been changed since making the monkey?
Um, pretty a lot. It's opened a lot of doors. It's done some cool stuff. I mean, the Stephen King name attached is a huge buoy for it. Um, got a lot of really cool opportunities as a result of the film. And more than anything, it's I did everything on this film. I wrote it, produced it, fundraised for it, managed it, hired crew, hired cast, did all the casting, directed it, edited it. So it's really me dipping the toe, well, not even dipping a toe, sorry, diving headfirst into all
Oh yeah.
elements of production
Oh yeah.
and how to work
Nice
with,
edit.
yeah, and how to truly, thank you very much, appreciate it. But yeah, how to truly make films, and work with a crew and work with the budget. And so it was such an unbelievable learning experience, that I was able to take with me and on different things. And I produced a short film the same time this was premiering last year. I was in the middle of producing another kind of ambitious short film, and but I just produced it. And it was a different writer director, one of my closest friends from childhood, and being able to take that knowledge of doing everything and then being able to pick one thing and just do it well and to the best of my ability, has changed the way I know I want to operate, and it's given me the insight to be like, I can direct, I can produce, I cannot do them at the same time.
Yeah.
I will go insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, so just it's and locally in the community that has been um, generated here and rallied around this, um, has been so substantial and so supportive, as opposed to, like I said, living in New York City and blending into the crowd. And it's just so oversaturated down there that it can be hard. And it can be hard to afford, not even from a filmmaker perspective, but part of it is, you saw those about a dozen locations in that movie. All but one of them were totally free. And that's just because we're living in a really
Yeah.
wonderful part of the country, and in a community that's excited about artists and filmmaking, and they can afford to say, sure, just show up on
Yep.
Saturday before we open or whatever, whereas in the city, or in bigger places like that, people go, I can't, I have rent, like I cannot afford to shut down for 3 hours while you film in my coffee shop and I lose out on thousands of
Yep.
dollars.
Yep.
I,
Yep.
I can't do it. And so yeah, now I am the president of a board of another nonprofit that supports or just supports and connects local filmmakers in the capital region of New York now. And so we
Cool.
have over 100 members, and we just try to connect them to each other and their audience. And I would not have gotten that. I mean, I say gig, it's a volunteer organization, but I would not have that opportunity if not for the connected nature of how this film came about, and really being a part of the community, and learning how to make the community a part of your work, as opposed to, uh, hey, can we use some money? Can you donate some money to a film? We're gonna go make it. We'll see you in a year and a half. Bye. You know what I mean? Just keeping people engaged and invested in the work that you're making, is something the monkey really taught me a lot about.
I mean, I can totally see it. The project is Herculean, especially, to have taken on from all those angles. I can totally appreciate learning so much from, all those facets of production technically. You've grown a lot, project managing a creative project, working with a community personally, on a personal level. What do you think? How have you grown?
I definitely think I know how to say I know how to better interact with people. I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but just my communication has improved tenfold. My organization has improved. I use the reminders on my phone now. It's the only thing that got me through that movie, was being able to Siri reminders and then have them pop up later. So learning tricks, learning how to be a little bit more deft. But yeah, and just relationship building. And
Yeah.
so for me, and I wouldn't have been able to truly integrate the right way into the community and make it lasting, if not for learning and having to curate relationships l- and really relate to people and learn how to bring people onto your team, so to speak, and work with others very well, and that kind of management communication skills, um, and just networking. I find it really really easy to kind of talk to people now, and talk to strangers. And I've always been extroverted and a little animated, but I used to fake it very well, and now I feel much more comfortable approaching people that I don't know and being able to talk to them about art and passions and whatever else.
So what are some of the secret tips that you can share in terms of like that keeps you feeling good about the communication that you've learned and grown into with others and collaborations and maybe even some of the challenging times during collaborations? What are those things that kind of you can share with other filmmakers out there?
Well, I shouted it out. Keep the reminders app on your iPhone
Yeah,
going strong, man. You can go at noon, remind me to do this tomorrow, and
yeah,
it'll pop up on your phone.
that's a
Um,
good one.
it's a really good, and it won't go away until you make it go away, no matter how many times you open and close your phone. It saved me. I mean, you've seen the movie. One of my favorite anecdotes is I said tomorrow, or I killed a fly in my house a week before we shot in the hospital room, and then was like, "Ooh, this is a nice. I didn't. This is a nice big fat juicy preserved fly." I put it in a little bag, and then I went on my phone. I said, "Saturday at 7 a.m. Remind me to bring dead fly."
Right.
I got in my car that
Yeah.
morning, and I was about to drive away, and I pulled up my phone, and bring dead fly was on
Yeah.
it. Oh my God! And then I
Yeah.
ran back inside, and that's that fat dead fly we used in the movie. Yeah, I think another really good nugget of advice that I will relay to people is no one can make a movie by themselves. You got to work with a lot of people, and you have to sift through people that you're working with. Um, and there was a moment at one point where I was getting frustrated with someone, and I asked a different friend about elements of their job, and elements of what they had to do for the film. And I asked them, how long did it take you to learn that? Because I was getting to the point where I was like, could I just spend 6 months and just learn this element, and then I can feel better and I can just bang some of the stuff at myself and
Do it
not have to.
yourself and not need the person that you're frustrated at.
Correct. And
Uh-huh.
and that person told me, sure, you could spend 6 months doing that, or you could just find people that you like working with better, or you could just find a better person to work with. And I was like, yeah, yeah, no, that's correct. As your time, you do the stuff that you do well. And if you're running into to issues with your team or issues with people, um, don't try to do everything yourself. There's find people, find your crew, whatever it is. Find the people that are going to show up and be there and believe in it and put in the work. Um, and people that you're comfortable working with. Don't It doesn't have to be a battle. It doesn't have to be a struggle. Just find your tribe, find your
Yeah.
crew.
Yeah.
You know?
Spencer Sherry, writer, director, filmmaker. The movie is The Monkey. Keep us posted on what's got going on with you, and we look forward to sharing more stuff with the audience.
Thank you very much, Costi. I really appreciate all of this. This has been great.
You're very kind. Thanks to you for making it happen. Spencer, catch you later. Peace
Adios, Costi.
out. On play it forward. All right. Till next time. Bye.